Hello viewers, welcome to another video. In this tutorial, we are going to talk about the inverse of what? The inverse of matrix. If we say the inverse of matrix, this is what we call inverse. Yeah, this is the inverse of A, and this is what? This is the inverse of B, and this is what? This is the inverse of what? Of C. So how can we find the inverse of either A or B or C, but what? Of 2 by 2 matrix and what? 3 by 3 matrix. So first the question asks we are to find the inverse of what? Of this 2 by 2 matrix. Suppose if we have A, if A is equals to, let's say A, B, C, and what? And D. So we have to find the inverse of this. So how can we find the inverse of this? So to find the inverse of this matrix, we have to swap the A and D. If we swap A and D, we will have what? D and A. But we have to introduce negative sign to what? To B and what? And C. But the B and C will remain as what? As they are. So therefore, it will become minus what? Minus B and what? Minus C. So then what am I going to do? I have to find the inverse of what? Of this matrix again. So if I'm going to find the inverse of this matrix, sorry, not inverse, the determinant of this matrix, sorry, the determinant of this matrix, so therefore I have AD minus what? Minus A multiplied by minus B, I will have what? Because minus will not cancel minus, because you are multiplying. So therefore I have to say it will become what? BC. So therefore, we swap A and B. We arrive at what? At this. And therefore we introduce negative sign to what? To C and what? And B. And also we arrive at what? At this 2 by 2 matrix. And then we find the determinant of what? Of this matrix. This is the determinant of this matrix. But we are looking for what? We are looking for A inverse. So to find the A inverse, we have to say that 1 over the determinant of what? This matrix that we swap the A and what? A and D. 1 over what? AD minus what? Minus BC. And therefore what? Multiplied by what? Multiplied by what? This matrix. So therefore, D minus what? Minus B minus C and what? And A. So therefore, this is the inverse of E. So we can use this method to substitute this value of A so that what? We can find the value of what? We can find what? The inverse of what? Of E. And then we have to check and verify whether we are going to find what? Identity matrix. So therefore, let's go ahead. If we are going to say that the inverse of this matrix will be equals to 1 over what? Over AD minus BC. How will I get the value of AD and what? Minus what? Minus BC. But as usual, you know that we find the determinant of this matrix and then we arrive at what? AD minus what? BC. But this is what? This is our general matrix. So therefore, I have to swap between 4 and 1. So I will have 1, I will have what? 4. And therefore, I will introduce negative sign towards to minus 3 and therefore what? Minus 2. So I have to find the determinant of this matrix. To find the determinant of what? Of this matrix, 1 times 4, which is 4, minus what? 2 minus 2 multiplied by minus 3, I will have what? 4 to 6, which is equals to what? Minus 2. So therefore, I'm having what? I'm having minus 2. I hope you get it. So therefore, if you take a look to this matrix, I have D. Where did I get this D and A and minus C and minus B? So don't worry. I swap what? Between what? 4 and 1. I swap the 2. I have 1 and I have 4. And then I will introduce negative sign to what? To minus 3 and what? And minus 2. So then I will multiply with what? By this matrix. So therefore 1 minus what? Minus 2 minus 3, and therefore I'm having 4. Positive 4. So then I have to simplify this. So 1 over what? I will multiply, I will say 1 minus 2 multiplied by what? multiplied by 1, and then minus 1 over 2 multiplied by what? Minus 3, and then 1 over minus 2 minus 1 over 2 multiplied by what? Minus 2. Because this 1 over minus 2 will multiply what? To each of what? Each of the member inside what? Inside this 2 by 2 matrix. So therefore I have to say minus 1 over minus 2 multiplied by what? Multiplied by what? 4. So this is a matrix. This is a matrix. So therefore I have to say this will be equals to 1 multiplied by 1. I'm having what? 1 over what? Minus 1 over 2. minus 1 multiplied by what? Minus 3. I'm having what? 3. Okay, sorry. Yes. 3 over what? Over 2. So therefore 1 multiplied minus 1 multiplied by what? Minus what? Minus 2. I'm having what? 2. So therefore 2 over 2, it is equals to what? 1. So therefore I'm having 1. 1 minus 1 multiplied by what? 4. I'm having what? Minus what? Minus 4. Divided by what? Divided by 2. So therefore 2 here what? 2 here 2. Therefore it is equals to what? Minus 2. So therefore I'm having what? Minus 2. So therefore this is what? This is the inverse of what? This matrix. So therefore the inverse of what? This matrix, it is equals to minus 1 over 2, 3 over what? 2, and then 1, then minus 2. So therefore this is the inverse of this matrix. But you have to verify either you are right or wrong. So how can I verify? To verify my answer, I will just say that the original matrix A multiplied by what? Multiply by what? Multiply by the inverse of this matrix. It's supposed to give me what? An identity. So when you multiply the original matrix with the inverse of the matrix, if you get identity, what is identity? Identity 1, 1, 0, 0. This is the identity of what? Of 2 by 2 matrix. So if you get this value, it means that you are right. But if you did not get this value, so it means that you have an error in what? In calculating your answer.